No one expected the courtroom to turn into a scene straight out of a movie. But that's exactly what happened when a trained canine suddenly broke protocol and yanked his handler straight through the courthouse doors. What started as a routine morning quickly turned into a moment that left everyone speechless, including the judge himself. The officer tried to regain control, but the dog was determined, pulling harder with every step, like something urgent was calling him from inside. As the doors swung open and the startled courtroom turned to look, the canine officer didn't hesitate. He dashed straight past the benches, ignoring orders, and dove under the wooden platform where the judge sat. For a split second, no one moved. Even the bailiffs froze. It wasn't just odd behavior, it was unheard of for a service dog to act this way, in such a formal setting. And then came the moment that stopped the judge. Mid-sentence. What the dog discovered beneath that bench sent a wave of shock through the entire courtroom. Murmurs filled the room. The judge stood up, and the officer, still gripping the leash, could hardly believe his eyes. It wasn't just about the dog anymore. It was about what had been hidden there all along, right under everyone's noses. Why did the canine react so strongly? What was really under that bench hand? Why was it so important? Stick around, because the twist that follows will have you questioning everything. You thought you knew about this case. Just minutes before the chaos, it had all seemed so ordinary. The courtroom was packed with people, some waiting for their hearings, others just curious onlookers. Judge Reynolds, a man known for his calm demeanor and strict courtroom rules, had just begun proceedings when Officer Daniels entered with Rex, his loyal canine partner. They were only meant to make a quick appearance for a demonstration tied to a local community safety program, but clearly, Rex had other plans. This wasn't Rex's first time in a courtroom. He was a seasoned canine with a reputation for obedience and sharp instincts, trained to detect narcotics and track down hidden evidence. So when he suddenly growled and lunged toward the judge's bench, it wasn't just unexpected, it was downright alarming. Officer Daniels was caught off guard. He'd never seen Rex act like this, not even on the field. Whispers spread as people leaned forward, trying to get a look. The judge looked more confused than concerned until Rex began to bark sharply, pawing at something beneath the wooden platform. Security moved in, but Daniels motioned for them to wait. Let him work, he said, voice tight with tension. A courthouse technician stepped in to assist, slowly removing the front panel beneath the judge's bench. The room fell silent. Even the sound of paper shuffling stopped. Something about the way Rex stood rigid, focused, alert told everyone this wasn't just a dog acting out. It was the start of something much bigger, something no one had seen coming. The technician's hands trembled slightly as he loosened the final screws. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. When the panel finally gave way, Rex let out a low growl, nose twitching as he crouched down, eyes locked on a dark space beneath the bench. Officer Daniels knelt beside him, shining his flashlight into the opening. What he saw made his stomach turn, not because of what it was, but because of what it meant. Tucked deep in the shadows was a sealed pouch, official-looking, dusty, and clearly hidden with care. Daniels carefully reached in, pulling it out slowly as Rex sat back, watching. The pouch wasn't just random junk. It had a faded court seal on it and a case number that hadn't been in circulation for years. The judge leaned in, squinting as he read it. His expression changed instantly. His eyes widened, then narrowed, like he was trying to process something deeply familiar and deeply wrong. Meanwhile, in the back of the courtroom, a man in a gray suit quietly stood and slipped out the door. No one noticed at first, but a young intern, Ellie, saw him leave. She didn't know why, but something about the man's timing didn't sit right. She nudged a fellow clerk and whispered, "Did you see that?" The tension kept building. What case did that pouch belong to? Why was it hidden beneath the judge's bench? And who was the man who left the courtroom so suddenly? The deeper they looked, the more tangled the mystery became. Officer Daniels handed the sealed pouch to the bailiff, who carried it up to the bench with cautious hands. Judge Reynolds didn't say a word at first. He just stared at the seal, tracing the faded number with his finger. The courtroom stayed completely silent, every eye on him. Then, in a voice that was barely above a whisper, he said, "This case was closed 12 years ago. It was supposed to be destroyed." The words sent a ripple through the room. Journalists in the gallery immediately perked up. Ellie, the intern, pulled out her phone and quietly started snapping notes. She had just started her job a week ago and never imagined she'd witness something like this. Meanwhile, Daniels tried to make sense of it all. Rex, still alert, kept sniffing around the bench, circling as if more secrets were hidden there. Outside the courtroom, the man in the gray suit moved quickly down the hall. Surveillance caught a blurry image of him leaving through the side exit. No ID, no badge, just gone. Ellie flagged down a deputy, whispering urgently, "That guy who left, he knew something. I saw his face when the judge read the number." Inside, the judge finally stood up, visibly shaken. "Cleared the courtroom," he ordered, his voice firm now. The bailiffs moved fast. Whatever was inside that pouch, whatever case it belonged to, was clearly more than just forgotten paperwork. Tension thickened in the air. No one knew what was coming next, but it was clear now something big had been buried, and it was about to come out. As the courtroom cleared out and the doors shut behind the last murmuring voice, Judge Reynolds sat down slowly, the pouch still in his hand. He motioned for Officer Daniels and one of the senior deputies to stay. Ellie, though told to exit, lingered just outside the heavy doors, her ear pressed close, notebook in hand. Something in her gut told her this wasn't over. Inside, Reynolds opened the pouch with steady fingers. Inside wasn't just one document, it was a bundle. Faded papers, a broken chain of custody tag, and most shockingly a small USB drive, taped inside a sealed evidence bag. Daniels exchanged a look with the deputy. Flash drives weren't even standard for case files back then, he muttered. The judge's face drained of color as he flipped through the first few pages. It was from a sealed case involving a high-profile corruption trial that had mysteriously collapsed just before sentencing. Back then, it had all been blamed on insufficient evidence. But here, in his hands, was the very evidence that had supposedly never existed. Before they could react further, a loud pop echoed from somewhere deep in the building, followed by a blackout. The lights flickered, then went dead. Emergency backup kicked in, casting eerie red light across the judge's bench. Rex growled again, ears up, ready. In that instant, it became clear someone didn't want this evidence seen, and they were willing to go further than anyone expected to keep it buried. The truth wasn't just hidden, it was dangerous. Emergency lights cast a red glow over the room as Officer Daniels instinctively moved in front of the judge, Rex by his side, tense and alert. The sudden power cut wasn't just a glitch, someone was inside the building, and they didn't want that evidence getting out. Daniels radioed for backup, but the signal was weak. Static filled his ear. The building's internal systems had been jammed. Judge Reynolds stood, his voice calm but urgent. We need to move this evidence to a secure location now. Just as they turned toward the exit, Ellie burst through the doors, breathless. I saw him, the man who left earlier. He's not just a stranger. I matched his face with an old newspaper archive. He was a lead investigator on that same corruption case, and he disappeared right after it collapsed. Daniels barely had time to react when a figure emerged from the shadows of the hallway, pointing a stun device. But Rex lunged before he could act, knocking the weapon aside and pinning the intruder to the floor. Deputies swarmed in seconds later, finally regaining control as full power returned to the building. The flash drive, when analyzed, revealed a chain of suppressed evidence, emails, witness statements, and financial records connecting the corruption case to several influential figures, including one former prosecutor now running for state office. The courtroom had unknowingly been sitting over a cover-up for more than a decade, but just as everything seemed wrapped up, Ellie found a second pouch hidden deeper under the bench, this one sealed with a newer tag, dated only 6 months ago. Judge Reynolds looked at it, stunned. That case is still open. Whatever they had uncovered wasn't over yet. The second pouch changed everything. Though the courtroom was finally calm, the weight of what had been uncovered still hung in the air. The new evidence linked a recent investigation to the very same network exposed in the original corruption case. It confirmed that the cover-up hadn't just survived all these years, it had evolved, reaching into present-day politics and law enforcement. Judge Reynolds, shaken but resolute, immediately called for a federal inquiry. Officer Daniels and Rex were praised for their sharp instincts, and Rex was even honored with a commendation for uncovering the hidden files. Ellie's observations proved critical, and she was offered a full-time position with the court's legal research team, her quick thinking now part of the official report. The man in the gray suit was later identified and arrested quietly,